Hello again, and welcome back to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy. My name is Eugene, and tonight we have Mardu Reanimator versus Yorion Death and Taxes. On the left, we have James playing his Mardu Reanimator list. Now, this isn't quite the same list, but it is very, very close. This is a all-in combo deck on the graveyard strategy of putting a fatty in the graveyard and put it back into play for a low mana cost card. The fatties we're talking about in this list are Archon of Cruelty, Grizzlebrand, and Serra's Emissary. Now, I'm not entirely certain if this is in James's list, but Atraxa Grand Unifier has been creeping up in a lot of lists because it is such a good card. Not only does it have a lot of those keywords, but it completely refills your hand, potentially putting up to 8 cards in your hand, something like that. Almost always at least putting 4 cards in your hand, and can end the game in 3 turns by itself. So you find a card like Entomb or Faithless Looting, being able to put one of those into your graveyard, and then you cast either Exhume, Reanimate, or Animate Dead. And that's the deck. Combating this strategy on the right is Yorion Death and Taxes, that collection of annoying creatures that make it difficult for you to do whatever you want to do. This deck is not in the greatest place right now, but it is still a powerhouse as a mid-range grind fest. This deck probably works the best against the graveyard strategy with things like the Lion Sash, being able to eat the graveyard, and your Swords to Plowshares and your Solitudes are going to be really important in this, since they're trying to exile those big fatties before they can get across the finish line, basically. Now that we know a little bit more about these decks, let's go ahead and get to those matches. All right, James on the play here, putting that Badlands into play with a Lotus Petal already on 2 mana, which can start setting things off here. We're looking at an Unmask, a Thoughtseize, Dark Ritual. These are all the cards you do want to see. I guess James is just trying to decide, do I pitch the Thoughtseize so I don't take as much damage? So we do see a pitch, Unmask, being able to exile a black card, being the Thoughtseize. Taking a look at all these very fancy cards in Jesse's hand. All of those alternate arts. Discarding these Swords to Plowshares to kind of ensure that whatever fatty James is going to put in the graveyard right now is going to stay there and stay in play. So we see a Dark Ritual, which gets him 3 mana. The Entomb gets a card to the yard, and Exhume brings a creature back from both graveyards. Since there's only one creature in one graveyard, it's pretty good that it's going to be Grizzlebrand. Getting to draw up to 14 cards here. Can't pay 7 life a third time or else he'd be dead. So a brand new hand. Pretty happy with that. Decides, I can see 7 more cards. Why not? Drawing 14 total. And is trying to decide what he's going to do here with all of this mana. Or with all these cards. He's already played his land for turn. Keep in mind, this is all turn 1. We're seeing a Dark Ritual, a second Entomb, and a Animate Dead. So whatever creature he's going to go and put in the yard right now, he's going to cast the Animate Dead to get it back. That is an Atraxa, so he is running that line. Okay, so this is going to be Serra's Emissary. You and creatures you control have protection from the chosen card type, which is probably going to be instant, so that makes it that his Swords of Plowshares are no longer effective. And Jesse says, yeah, okay, that was before my turn 1, so I'm going to concede, and we're going to go to game 2. So Jesse puts down a Plains, and we're seeing an Unmask from James. A very similar turn here. We're seeing a Solitude and a Mindbreak Trap. That's pretty good. I'm not sure what we're looking at here. Maybe that's a Lion Sash? Actually a difficult decision. Because he knows whatever fatty that he goes and grabs is going to be blown up by the Solitude, but the Mindbreak Trap is going to stop him from resolving anything, since if he goes for an Entomb here, he's already cast 2 spells, so it would be countered. Decides to take the Mindbreak Trap since it's a 1-for-1, whereas Solitude, you always have to 2-for-1 yourself to get your effect. A Shuffle Up for the Badlands. 1 mana Faithless Looting. Ooh, Seize the Fatty. Grizzlebrand to the grave. A Lightning Axe. That's interesting. But Lightning Axe, I think, only dealing 5 damage to target creature. decides to discard it anyways, doesn't need it. We see the Reanimate for the Grizzlebrand, which is going to make him lose life equal to the CMC of the creature. A Solitude, dropping James all the way down to 4 since he is paying the 7 life with that on the stack, getting rid of the Grizzlebrand just to make sure that whatever effect he may draw into to not be able to stop him. So we're passing turn. James is out of gas, but he does have an Archon of Cruelty in play, or in hand. We're seeing a Schadenport from Jesse, being able to tap down that Badlands, which would be good in most circumstances, but since his hand is completely reloaded here, it's kind of tough. I'm not sure what's happening here. It sounds like they're calling over a judge. Maybe James accidentally drew an extra card. I think might have what happened. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, he drew an extra card off of that Grizzlebrand. So they're trying to decide, well, is it worth it putting the Archon in the yard? Oh, because he had too many cards at the end of his last turn. So discarding down to hand size, which is actually great for James because that means he gets to get his Archon into the yard. And now we're going to turn. We try to play nicely at our store. You know, people make mistakes. It's not Comp REL. It's a Tuesday night. Bringing back the Archon. Going down to 3. Going down to 3. I thought he already went down. Oh, no. I guess he only went down to 11 with the Grizzlebrand. He lost 8 life. All right, my mistake. He did pay the life, and then, of course, he gained it back with the Solitude effect, so he did have the life to pay to get this Archon in play. Let's keep going. We're seeing a Spirit of the Labyrinth. But with this Archon of Cruelty fully resolved, it's going to be tough since Archon says every time that they attack, they have to sacrifice a creature. So drawing cards is going to be back on the table in just a second here since we see 6 damage coming across the board. Asking if he gets to draw the card off of the Archon of Cruelty attack, and the answer is yes, because the creature is sacrificed, and then there is a period, so all of that resolves, and then the effect of the draw card gain 3 life happens after the creature has been sacrificed. We're seeing a Faithless Looting here. Kind of brutal at this point. Having any number of cards to reanimate in his yard, having that Archon of Cruelty in play, casting a Haywire Might. Guess you can use the green mana off of the Lotus Petal. Haywire Might, a very good card to get rid of a Cauldron Complete, since it is a non-creature artifact. Making sure that life totals are correct here. Since you lose 9 life if you get swung and hit by the Archon of Cruelty. We're seeing a crack from James. This game's about wrapped up. Seeing another Entomb, even though we have the Grizzlebrand. I think Jesse goes and plays the Thalia and wraps it up. So easily the strangest card coming into the game is the Stronghold Gambit on James's side. So this card basically says you both reveal your hand, and the player with the creature with the smallest converted mana cost gets to put it into play for free. So this is usually played after a couple Thoughtseize effects, making sure that your opponent doesn't have any creatures in their hand, and then you get to drop your fatty into your hand like a bad version of Show and Tell, or the Sneak Attack, except you don't have to sacrifice the creature at end of turn. For not playing blue, it's pretty good. And then, of course, DnT had all kinds of things to bring in. The Fairy Macabre, being able to exile the yard at instant speed. The Rest in Pieces, very good at getting rid of graveyards. Mind Break Traps, the Surgical Extractions, Containment Priest, and the Grafdigger's Cage are all... I mean, that is a ton of graveyard hate, but he just didn't happen to see a lot of it. So things just go that way sometimes. Yorion DnT is pretty soft to the Reanimator strategy. That's why he probably has so many cards dedicated in his sideboard to it. But this time, James takes it 2-0. Thanks for joining us. I hope you like the rounds. If this is your first time here, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel to stay up to date on all of our cool new stuff. If you are watching this before May 1st, we are live streaming on this channel, the YouTube channel, not Twitch, this channel, on May 1st at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I hope to see you there. Thanks as always to Spellhold Games and Collector Legion for allowing us to record in their play space. We would not exist without you. And as always, if you are looking for the deck lists of either of these decks, they should be in the description of this video right below where you're watching it, or if it's on your phone, still below it, but you have to turn the phone back sideways so that you can actually see the description of the video. And then also, if you want the visual deck lists that were before this match, they are found on our Instagram channel, and there's a link to that in the description as well. I think that's going to do it for us for this video. So until next time, I've been Eugene, and this is Tuesday Night Legacy. We'll see you next time.